Hello and welcome to my favorite module, which is play. I think play is the best way to organically connect with a child without having so much structure. I have learned so many things from my students by watching them play and engaging with them in a way that is different from what I would necessarily do. And it's just a fantastic way to get to know a child and start thinking like they think and really forming that bond and relationship. That is what I want for you. And so that is why I'm going to teach you how to play. Before we go into all the nitty gritty about it, we are going to give an example. So imagine you are watching Netflix or Hulu or YouTube TV, whatever you're watching, whatever streaming service or local television, maybe a movie, but you're watching it, or it could be a sporting event, and you're watching it and someone comes in and turns off the TV. That would be super frustrating. You might want to yell and say, "Why did you do that? What are you doing?" You'd grab the remote back. You would not be happy. So you got it back on, you're binging, you're in episode 3 to 4, and it's really getting juicy and good. And someone comes in and they start asking lots of questions. "Oh, why is she doing that? Oh, what's going on there? Where are they? What's happening?" My mom is guilty of this, and it's really frustrating because you're just trying to enjoy it, and their constant talking is frustrating you. It's upsetting. It's ruining your experience. So now imagine you're on episode 4 and a big scene's about to happen, and all of a sudden someone comes into the room and starts rearranging all the furniture. They're not necessarily in the way of the TV, but they're definitely making noise and maybe doing stuff that is frustrating you in the sense that it's taking your attention away from what you want to be watching. And a big scene is building, or you're watching football and it's the last quarter and it's a really close game. You kind of like, "Can you do that later? Like, do that later. I don't want that right now." Or now it's the last 2 minutes of the game and the final episode of all 5 episodes that you've watched, and something big is about to happen, and someone comes in and just sits next to you. They don't do anything really to interrupt you. They just sit next to you. Then something big happens and they go, "Oh!" At the same time you do, you're going to look at each other and have a connection because you have not interrupted them. You've joined them. So do you see the difference between joining a child's play and interrupting a child's play? It's very important. I've made the mistake way too many times. I'm usually the person who's like rearranging all the furniture or asking all the questions, but that is frustrating. That starts the play off on a bad note already, because already the kid is kind of like, "Oh, I was better without you here." We want them to be better with us there. So how can we do that? Is by looking for intrinsic motivation. That is something that the child finds enjoyable and likes to do from the inside. It gives them joy. Versus extrinsic motivation, which a lot of times you may use when potty training or schools do it. First do this, then you can have 3 M&Ms. Or first do this, then you can go back on your iPad. We don't want play to be like that. Play should be organic and not as structured. Now, I structure a lot of my play sessions by using the intrinsic motivation that I know kids have and using that to my advantage. So if I know one of my students really likes blocks, yep, I'm bringing blocks with me that session. Or I'm going to have blocks set up even before they get in the room, or I'm going to be playing with blocks. So immediately when they walk in that room or I come with my bag, they're like, "Yes, here's the lady with the fun stuff. I want what she has." It might not be me that they want at first, and that's okay. But I have to use what they like. Because if I go in and I bring cars and I know they can't stand cars, they're like, "What do I do with these? Why do I play with these?" That's going to be forcing them to quote unquote play when they don't want to. We want to look for things that really your child finds joy in. I have a lot of students that love music. So I will put a song on my phone, put it in my bag. So when they hear it, they're like, oh, here she comes again. She knows me. She knows I want that music. And then maybe have music on in the background. Or we listen to a song and I grab their hands and we start to dance. I have started that play off so much better than just coming in the room, taking it away from them and showing them what I want them to do. So it's really a matter of thinking about it, which is kind of counterintuitive because you think play, it's easy, I can do it. But it is kind of complicated because not everybody thinks like we do. What I'm going to do with a doll is different than what somebody else is going to do with a doll. Somebody else might just want to brush the doll's hair, where I'm going to be like, oh, where are we going today? And make it talk. There's different kinds of play, and they're all fine. But what's important is to find what your child really likes, not necessarily always what you really like, which I know is frustrating because I have played a lot of things that I didn't find exciting, but if the kid does, I'll hang with it as long as I can. So now we're going to get into some of the science of play. People have studied this. There are researchers that are brilliant about the knowledge that they have accumulated about play. And there's a development. Of course there is. There is a linear pattern that most kids show with age ranges. I have left the age ranges off on purpose because I don't want you to compare your child to everybody else. You need to look at where your child is now and where you want them to go. Because like I've said a million times probably now, it's just a difference. They're developing differently than when all these scientists studied children, they were quote unquote neurotypical. There is a lot of newer research out there about how neurodivergents are developing, but it's still new and it's still not always the same. Because if you've met one kid with autism, you've met one kid with autism. So just because some kids go this way, some kids might go this way, and some kids might go this way. So this is a guideline. Use this as, just like with the language, use this as, okay, where do we typically start and where's a good one to try next, the next level to get there. And then compare it. You're watching this today. So think in 6 months from now, you can look back or put a reminder in your phone of, okay, wow, my kid was really over here at stage 1 and now we're at like stage 2 or 3-ish. That's awesome. That is so great. And it doesn't matter if your kid is 7 at a stage 1. If you can get to 2 or 3, that's awesome. You've now jumped up and your child has made progress compared to themselves, not compared to everybody else, because everybody's different. So really try to look at that. You can Google this right when I'm done. The levels of play, Dr. Greenspan is who I'm going to talk about. He's brilliant, and you can look at him and think about him. But really what I want you to do is focus on where your child is now and where you want them to go. So as I alluded, Dr. Greenspan studies play and just found out all the things about it. So he found 6 main levels of play, steps of play, and then 3 additional ones. I didn't put them in there because we're going to focus on these 6. So attention regulation. This is when your child is able to be calm and attend to things, not interacting with them yet, but just attend to things, look around, and really stay regulated. The next one is engaging in the world. So now your child is calm, regulated, paying attention to things, but now might pick up something and look at it, play with it, move it around, or watch it move if it's something outside and they're watching it move around. Really having more engagement in the world and responding. So if they see a bird fly by the window, they might smile because they liked that. Really starting to show facial expression and maybe a little bit about preference. Then we move into the 2-way communication and interaction. This is where we get a little more play on purpose and where all the wonderful kids songs come from, the wheels on the bus, everything like that. It's really where we start to see the interaction, and it's amazing when we can get our children there and get them to interact with us. Just the best feeling. So You want to get there if you're not already there. So we want that to be playing on purpose. Maybe we're playing together a little bit and we're imitating each other. And then we move into shared problem solving. So this is when we can kind of follow directions or have a little more content in the play. And we have a constant connection. So maybe a back and forth. So maybe we're playing with kinetic sand and some cars, and the car gets stuck. So then we have to like dig it out to get the car to be able to go past. It's kind of where we start to see the problem solving come in, and we can really amp up the silliness level to really keep them engaged if that's what they like at this level. The next one is meaningful use of ideas. This is where we get the pretend play and the thematic play, and we have a really good consistent interaction. We're kind of both using our different ideas and putting them together. And the sixth one for his main ones is logical thinking. This is where we can answer and ask WH questions. So where are we going today? And what are we doing? And really get more language. Now, if your child is not speaking yet or has trouble with language, we could still see some advanced play, but we're going to really have to go back to we're not going to be able to communicate as well. So focus on that modeling to help develop the ability to answer questions and ask questions and have those higher level play concepts developed. So like I said, Google Dr. Greenspan when you're ready, and he has so much more information than I could provide you with in this generic presentation. Then other levels of play that we can look at are these stages where there's unoccupied, which means the child is kind of just moving their body, just moving around, really not attending to anything. They're kind of just there, not in a bad way, but just content, but just unoccupied. Don't really need anything. They're kind of just by themselves. Playing alone is when they're exploring. They're really kind of playing in solitude. They are kind of exploring everything, similar to Greenspan's engaging in the world. They're kind of really starting to get out there and figure out what's going on. Then we have the onlooker, which is when kids watch other kids. A lot of kids stay at this stage for a while because it might not always make sense to them what others are doing, so they just watch. And as I said, in the receptive language, kids pick up a lot more than we give them credit for, I think. So if they're kind of just watching, don't necessarily jump to, oh, they should go play with those kids or they should go do this. They might need time just to absorb and watch, and they're not ready to join. We don't want to push them before they're ready, because if we try to push them into parallel play, they might retreat. We want it to be organic. We want that intrinsic motivation. We want them to go to the next stage, which is parallel play, where they'll play in the same space as other kids, maybe play with similar toys, but there's no real interaction yet. The next one is associate, which is when we start to see the interaction between kids or adult and caretaker, and it's really more they want to play with you. So they might come up and hand you something because they're like, let's play now. Let's do this. And then cooperative is where we see the playing together. Think kids on a playground playing. This is when really they can share and join play. They're playing pretend, or they're playing nicely together without any adult supervision per se. So now that you have kind of a couple different ways to look at play instead of just, oh, my kid likes to line up cars. Well, if they like to line up cars, where are they? They're really still back at being an onlooker or engaging in the world, and we want to jump them to the two-way communication. So we want to join them at their level. If they're lining stuff up, we're going to go line stuff up. Not in a way, like I said, rearrange all the furniture and change all their cars so it makes sense to you, biggest to smallest. We're going to let them do it, and we're going to join at their level. So I might take some cars and start lining them up in a similar fashion to them, or maybe a different fashion, and hopefully get that child to notice what I'm doing. And then maybe I do a little sabotage and put one backwards. And then that kid might come over and fix my car for me. And I just got them to engage with me and with my play in a way that now I can say, uh-oh, and try to get them engaged with me now. They engaged with the car, the object that I was using to get their attention, but now I want to bring it back to me. So we always want to start there. If I go over and start saying vroom, 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 vroom with the cars and crashing them, no, that's like going in and turning off the TV. That's going to frustrate them. So we want to join at their level and we want to wait. We often lead children unknowingly into what we want to play. And it's really hard as a parent. I can tell you, I made this mistake so many times with my own children where I might not love playing with Barbies. So I might try to make this play go in a direction that is better for me. But we don't want to do that. We really want to follow their lead. We want to wait and observe. And it might be a couple times of just coming and sitting near them and watching what they do. And a lot of times it's fascinating and it's genius. I had a student who they had a bunch of cars, and to me, they all look like Matchbox cars. Didn't matter. He had paid attention enough and he had lined them up based on where they were made. You know, in the bottom, if it says like made in China, made in USA, made in wherever, he had lined them up. It took me a little while to figure it out because I would try to start the play and he would pick them up so fast and look, and it took me a minute. But then once I realized it, I was like, oh, here, this one's from Japan. Oh, here, this one's from the US. And I was giving them to him in order. And he was so excited because he knew that I understood his motivation. So it might take a minute, but if you can wait and try to observe and think outside the box, like I said, I was like, it's not color, it's not size, it's not shape, it's not the manufacturer. It took me a minute. But if you can do that, it makes a difference. And that connection is genuine and it's real. Then we want to model. So we always want to be modeling, and modeling more without expectation. So in the example of the student, I might have realized that he liked the cars and I might be like, ooh, Japan. Say it, say car, say car. If I'm expecting him to do something else and putting too many demands on him, this isn't his play anymore. This is my play. This is what I want to happen. So really try. Sometimes I have to bite my tongue. Believe me, I'm a speech pathologist. I'm supposed to speak for a living, but I get the most out of sessions when I stop talking. And that is 100% true. When I stop talking, it opens up a safe environment for the kid to talk, the kid to engage, and take all the language out of it and just have the connection. So I also said it in the last one. I forgot I put it in here, but you don't want to say. So say car, say car. The kid is going to say car, both words, and then we have to teach them to drop the say. I mean, how many times I'm sure you can think of when you're prompting your child, say hi to Miss Linda, say hi to Miss Linda. And they're like, say hi to Miss Linda, or they lose the words. Linda, it's too high. So just model without expectation. You can model and then wait. So I might take that car and say, car, and then they might grab it. Okay, great. If I do that enough, they're going to be on it and be ready to play, that they're going to be like, car, and they're going to grab it from me and they're going to repeat me if they have the capability. But model, give a pause if you can, and then do it without expectation. If they don't do it, that's okay, because we're there to focus on the play. We're also going to acknowledge any communication, even if we don't understand it. So if I go over, I have a couple students who have loved Play-Doh in my time. And if I go over and that student has created this human monster looking thing, and it looks like he's having them talk, and I hear him go, I might try to join by bringing my own Play-Doh if he's not ready to let me share his, bringing my own Play-Doh, making a similar creature like he has made, and then I might watch him, the interaction. And if he says, like, and if I go over and try to say, hi, da da da, and the kid just says, really? Do I know what the kid said? No. Was I going to see if we could get a dialogue? Yes. May have been too high, but with this student, it actually wasn't. It was his appropriate level. So I couldn't necessarily understand what he said, but I responded to his attempt at communication. If I would have said, what? Huh? Say it again. Say it again. I lost it. If I say, like, oh, or be silly with it, then he's more likely to keep going. Kids will retreat if they think they're being judged or pulled back. I've had so many kids in my career outside of work who, I swear, I have like a sign on my head that says speech pathologist, and the mom's like, oh, come on over here, talk to Miss Maggie. They're like, she's going to be judging me, not going to do that. So we want to acknowledge any form of communication or engagement. We want back and forth. Think of like a volleyball game. You want to hit the ball and you want them to hit it right back, and you want it to keep going. And we're going to try to reduce our questions. It's very hard for me as well. And I'm sure it's hard for you because you want to dig, you want to find out what's going on in their mind. But we really want to not ask questions and just join, model, play at their level. But if we keep asking, what are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, what's that guy doing? What's that guy doing? The kid is like, that's like when the person walked in on the Netflix and wanted to get caught up in 30 seconds. This child might have had this whole play scheme going on in their head for 10 minutes before you show up, and now you want to do it your way. No, just try to engage, model, wait, follow their lead. If I hope a lot of this is resonating with you, I'm not judging. I have made all these mistakes. I still make mistakes. Some sessions I leave and I'm like, oh, I just talked too much. I messed that up. That's okay. Because guess what? I'm going to try again tomorrow. And I'm going to be more purposeful about what I'm trying to do each day, which is connect with the child. I'm always trying to, but some days we all have our own agenda. Don't try to play at a time when you know you have to get out the door in 20 minutes. Because in the back of your head, you're going to be like, oh, we got to get going. Why is this taking so long? They're not interacting with me. This isn't worth the time. And now you have a negative energy about it. You want to be purposeful. Pick a time when you can start and insert yourself into your child's play. Or if there's something you know your child loves, magnet tiles are a great one. Kids love magnet tiles. Get some magnet tiles and start playing with them. Your child might surprise you and come over. Then I can maybe give them a couple, but keep a bunch to myself. And then if they reach over, I can start in model. Oh, you want more? Okay, here's some more. If they're start to build a square, I'm going to start and build a square. And then guess what? Boop, I'm going to knock it over. And I'm going to laugh and say, oh, and be silly about it. And then they might imitate and do that to yours. They might not. There is a science to play, but there's also not, in the sense that every kid is different. If that kid is upset that day, it might not matter if I have their favorite toy. They're not in a place that they want to be playing with it yet. Or they might come over and chuck it just because they're mad. That's not the time. So you want to try to pick a time that's good for you, that's good for your child, and start observing and modeling as best you can. I will give you plenty of examples in the next lesson. So take what you want from this one, leave the rest, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye for now.